Hello everybody. So we're in lockdown, and I'm sure most of you who are doing the same thing will be a bit chaotic with families and kids and everybody in the same house, and it's crazy busy. But here there's just two of us and the dog, and it's 1:30 in the morning. My insomnia is just totally off the scale. So I decided to respond to lots of people who were asking about bread without yeast, recipes for bread without yeast. And so tomorrow I'm going to do a live video for you all, and I'm going to be making bread without yeast to see how that goes, because it should be it won't taste as spongy, and it won't taste like a big loaf of Warburtons, but it should be delicious, and it's very quick and very simple to make, and you just need milk, salt, baking powder and plain flour. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. I know I've had loads of messages from people saying, can you help me with a recipe for can't get any yeast, we need a yeast-free bread. So that's what we're going to be doing. Don't know where you all are. I've got people from all over the world following me, to my lovely friends in the States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Mexico, all over. So wherever you are, whatever time it is, I hope you're managing, I hope you're coping. It's not difficult. It's not difficult, really. It's tedious because our lives are so busy, and we're used to being productive, and we're used to achieving, and our live is pushed towards how much we do every day and what we achieve, what we have in the bank, what car we drive, what house we live in, and all that. That means nothing now. That means nothing, because you can be as rich or as poor, you can have the best, fastest, super duper car, or you can drive some old jalopy with its exhaust hanging off, and nobody gives a shit. When you're gonna be in a situation which is life or death, nobody cares. We don't even care, because we lose all that sort of sense of reality, and we go to necessity. So we're in a very rural part of France here, and in the Centre Val de Loire we have a relatively low number of cases and a low number of deaths, partly because we're very rural, and part because most people who live in small villages and communities here don't travel, don't move, don't proliferate where they go. They live very more insular lives, shall we say. But then when you move towards bigger cities, bigger towns, that's when it gets scary. When people just want to socialise because we're social animals, and because we go about our lives and we meet many, many hundreds of people more than our grandparents ever met. We talk to many more people. We integrate with people. We are people, most of us. And so when something as invisible as this happens, nobody knows. Nobody knows who's got it and who hasn't. And it's an invisible enemy. And yesterday, when I went to the market to get my essential supplies, and with my piece of paper saying that I was travelling alone and I was able to go and just buy food or pharmacy items, I went to the petrol station to fill up a can so that we had a spare can of petrol, because we live about 15 miles away from the town, and we didn't want to go out for quite a while, so we thought, well, we need to stock up now and then hole up here. And a little old lady was there. She was at least 80 odd. She was what you would call a clutch burner. So obviously a bit of humour in here. she arrived at the petrol station. I heard this car coming in, revving up. And there she was. And then she got out the car, smoke pouring out of the back. But she had never put petrol in her car before without somebody at the kiosk taking her money. And so I asked her if I could help, and she said, "Yes, can you help me? I don't. My husband died, and I don't know how to put petrol in the car," which seems really crazy to all of us. So I showed her how the machine worked, and I said, "Listen, if you need to do it again, this is how you do it. Very simply, you put your card in, you put in your number." And she had to find a piece of paper with her code on, you know, as many older people do when they forget so many different PIN numbers and cards and things. And so we chatted about it, and I said, "Are you okay? Are you alone? Do you need anything? You know, where are you?" And she lived in a village about 5 miles away from us, and apparently she did have neighbours and she did have friends who were helping her with, you know, essential tasks and, you know, having food in the house and whatever. And she was really grateful, and she was saying to me, "You know, I've lost 3 members of my family in the last 6 months, and I'm feeling very, very lonely and isolated, even though I have people, neighbours that are very good to me, and now I can't see my family." And we chatted, and I said, "But this is nothing compared to what you experienced in the Second World War." And she said, "No, not at all." She said, "That was easy. That was easy." This is exactly her words. "We could see our enemy. We knew who our enemy was. And here, we don't know who our enemy is." And that was quite a striking thing to hear from her. So anyway, she was very grateful, and she now knows how to fill up her car with petrol. She had firmly had her foot on the clutch as she left the garage and roared out into the thankfully deserted road in front of her. And it left me feeling really sad in a way, but also hopeful, because she had obviously lived a very long life, and living in a more isolated place seems to make you less available to this kind of pervading, silent, invisible thing. I think that I don't realise at the moment how lucky we are. We're still self-isolating because we came back from the Alps last week, where we had been mixing with huge amounts of people in the restaurant, Swiss people, Italian people. The last day of the business before the government sent out the messages that we had to close at midnight was heaving busy with people. We must have done double the amount of people we'd ever done before. And it was only then, after lots of people joking about it, that my boss broke down and was just inconsolable. And she just said, "I didn't realise how much I'd put all of you and all of my family in danger." So that was quite sobering. We just all carried on as normal. And it's the sense of regret, you know, that something could happen. And the week before we actually closed, unbeknownst to us, we didn't know this was going to be this serious, and we didn't know that Spain was going to be so serious. Our plongeur, our washer-upper, Miguel, travelled to Madrid and flew there for a weekend, and then came back because he had a family meeting. And none of us realised the significance of this. And I'm working with this guy, you know, brushing up to him. We're in a tiny kitchen. We're inadvertently touching, I suppose, lots of things and touching each other in non-suggestive ways, obviously. But we were quite close to each other, and working for lots of hours in in conditions which, you know, propagate this kind of thing. And it's only really recently that we've sort of, you know, in the last few days that we've actually been quite worried. We've both got colds. We're okay. Nose is running, coughing, but, you know, mucus cough, not a dry cough. So we're okay. We're not scared about that at all. It's just the uncertainty of obviously knowing how dangerous, realising how dangerous it was that he actually went to Spain for that weekend to see his family and come back. We've just got some friends, some really good friends, more like parents really, in their late 70s, and Pops is 80, and they've just come back from Spain, where they've been spending the winter in their caravan down in the south of Spain. And every week the doctor came onto the site and tested them and checked that everybody was okay, took their temperature, blood pressure, everything. Brilliant, unbelievable. That was very reassuring. And then the news was that the government was shutting all the caravan sites down. And so they were then just turfed out. So they'd spent 4 months on and off living where they'd been for 15 years in their caravan, in total harmony with, you know, life, just going about their daily business, to the market, to the cafe, having their lunch out, you know, seeing everybody. And then to be shut into this campsite, which was huge. I think there's something like 1,000 caravans on there. They had fresh deliveries of food every day. The doctor came, as I say, they were all fine. And then all of a sudden they were projected out into the world. Go home. Go home. They got on a flight, the last flight out of Alicante. They gave the taxi driver €90 instead of 85. Obviously a tip, which was all they had left on them. And the taxi driver text messaged them afterwards and said, "You gave me too much money. You gave me too much money." No, we didn't give you too much money. We're really grateful that you took us. Not many taxis were even operating. We're really, really grateful you took us to the airport. And he said, no, I will, when you come back to Spain, I will pick you up. You call me and I will pick you up and I will bring you back for free. That was just brilliant. I thought that was fantastic. The guy was fabulous. So the worry for them then was they had to spend 6 hours sitting in the airport with no food, no cafe, no drinks. And there was no information for them. Then they went through to the other side where apparently, I don't know, but apparently there was food there, because they'd been there for such a long time. And, you know, they're elderly people. They're very fit, they're very adventurous, they live life to the full, but they are in an age group which is fragile. And they got on, I don't know which airline it was, so I'm not going to say the airline, but it was obviously one of the ones beginning with either EJ or J2. And that was the only flight left. And there were no masks given to them. They were not reassured in any way that the plane had been disinfected. And they arrived in Leeds Bradford Airport very late last night. Luckily in one piece, and I'm really they're self-isolating now. They have no access to the outside world. They've got friends that live in the street that have been brilliant, that will bring food, but they cannot leave. Nobody told them they cannot leave. No, the people on the plane, the flight attendants, the passport control, nobody told them they couldn't leave. And I just find that unbelievable. Nobody helped them really. They were just chucked on a plane and chucked off it at the other end. Life's full of adventures, but I think that's one they could have done without. So thank God they're back at home and they're safe. But we're just praying now that 14 days before, you know, the incubation period is up, that we hope that everything's fine for them, because they're obviously in that high risk category. Everything's stopped. Everything's been put on hold. People are not making money. Factories are closing all over the place. Our son-in-law works for a big packaging company, and he's in charge of the sales for the whole of Europe. And he could not believe that in Manchester that his sales reps were still out having dinner and drinking in a bar a couple of days ago, and asking him why they hadn't got their deliveries. And he's saying, well, I've got 40 guys in a factory who have tested positive, and I can't, function. These factories can't function much longer. So, it's all very well, we've got everything we need at the moment, but those guys that are trucking up and down are keeping everybody going. So don't panic buy. It's stupid. If you're going to run out of something, you're going to run out of something. This whole business about yeast. What the hell? Nobody ever bought yeast before. There was yeast everywhere. You could always go into a shop and buy dried yeast. In fact, it was probably not a very big seller. And now all of a sudden the whole world wants yeast because they want to make bread, which comes back to my original start of the conversation, where I decided that I would share with you a couple of bread recipes tomorrow. So I'm going to try and film those with yeast, without yeast, how quick and how simple it is. So yeah, we just have to sit tight. We just have to eat less. We're going to move less because we can't go anywhere. We just have to do some of the things that we wanted to do. It's really hard the first few days. I reckon it's quite a downer. It's a downer for me. And I know I've got tons of things that I could do and loads of things that I need to finish. But when you've got to be in the right frame of mind to do them. So the first couple of days, it's either going to be hysteria and jollity and fun and party time and pretending it's all okay, or it's going to be, falling into the depths of depression. So what I want to do is be positive, and I'm going to try and accomplish things that I really want to do, and I'm going to really keep that in mind over the next few days, and think, well, if I can just achieve something that I've wanted to do for a long time, then that's going to be one benefit that comes out of here. But all that we have to remember is that self-preservation can sometimes be brutal. And, it doesn't matter how much money we've got and what's in the bank and where we're going on our holidays and how big our car is. The most important thing is to just be a nice person and to help other people, because you never know when you might need that help yourself. So that's my message for tonight for all you insomniacs out there, insomniacs. It's now 10 to 2 and watching the clock go round. And I'm just thinking about my family who are fragile, some of them. And, like all of you out there, we've all got either parents or, in-laws or friends or whatever who are suffering health conditions, underlying health conditions already. So, all you idiots who went out to Scarborough Seafront and Whitby and all over the Peak District and wherever else you went, this is not a holiday. You are not on holiday. So, you are just an invisible carrier spreading this stuff around. Go home, stay home, shut your door, communicate by phone, communicate by the internet if you have it, help your neighbours if you can, and just do your best. Just do your best. Just help as many people as you can. I want to say a huge shout out to all those people working in the NHS, all those frontline staff, the carers, the people that look after my dad, your dad, granddads, mums, all of you. All the people who are keeping nursing homes running, care assistants who are working without masks, all of that, hopefully people will take the initiative and try and do what they can to help everybody else, because that's, at the end of this, we've got to survive and we've got to, get the most out of it, make new friendships and form new relationships with the people that we already live with. And maybe we'll learn to appreciate what we have a little bit more. Thank you to all you people in key working positions. My sister is still going to work at school because she has autistic children that she helps to look after, and they're high risk and they need to be taken care of during the day. Her children, my niece and nephew, obviously, while she's looking after other people's children, they have to go to school as the children of key workers. So whatever you do, just keep safe, keep distance, and do your very best to stay sane and positive and reach out to people who need a bit of help. If you've got any concerns or need anything, then, you know, put that card in your window. If you've got elderly people who you know live near you, tell them to put a card in the window, leave it on their doorstep, red or green. If you need any help, it's red. There are people who are circulating in key jobs who will see that. So, you know, let's look after everybody. Let's look after everybody. There are a lot of homeless people out there. There are a lot of people who are mentally vulnerable. Let's help them too, okay? Because we could all be in the same position as that one day. So I hope wherever you are, you will sleep well tonight. For those of you in Canada and the States, my friends, love to you all. Face touching, but I'm alone. So I can touch my own face, I think. But apart from that, it's no joke. Wash your hands, stay away, keep out of hospital, and keep away from other people. You know, now's not the time to be, you know, crying that you need to see people. You don't need to see people. We've got to learn to survive on our own and to be self-sufficient. And that's tough for some people who are used to social contact all the time. So it's not as bad as it seems. It's going to get better. Everything will follow its natural course. And we just have to hope and pray that, you know, we lose as few people as possible and we can flatten this whole thing down. Just remember that there are loads of people when you're asleep in your bed, self-isolating, feeling miserable. There are people who are fighting for their lives, and nurses and doctors and NHS staff who are out there really putting everything into this. They're giving it their best shot. So do your best to help them. And we'll be back soon tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be baking bread without yeast. So watch this space. God, that'll be gripping, won't it? See the funny side, see the bright side, love each other, and think about your people, however far or near they are, because they'll be thinking about you. Night, everybody.